Ladies, gentlemen, and nightfarers of all ages, the Forsaken Hollows DLC has quite a bit going on inside of it, especially when it comes to the Great Hollow, the new shifting earth that is essentially just a whole new map. There's somewhat more obvious stuff and general objectives that you probably already know about at this point, and we do have guides to the actual activity as a whole in general up on the channel already. But as with the standard map, there are plenty of things around the place that are really useful to know about, or just things that are worth being aware of with the two new expeditions as a whole. So today we're going to go over a collection of things that you probably don't know about in the Forsaken Hollows DLC that can help make your runs a little bit smoother, a little bit easier, with a focus on the new map in particular. First, a couple of sort of basic tips that could come in handy. First is abuse the bird tree flight patterns by not taking the intended paths and forcing them to drop you off otherwise. You can use the northwest tree flight path and drop off early to go straight to the western temple for a quick path to that location on day 2. You can use the southwest flight path tree, and if you veer left quite hard near the middle of the path and then forcibly dismount, you can get to the great crystal in the center if you've cracked it open, and this is nice and easy from a side of the map where otherwise it would take you much longer to get there. And the third one I think will be quite helpful to folks here too. The Night 2 boss is seemingly always in that tower to the north, and if your circle on day 2 is on the right side of the map, that means it will very quickly cut out the bridge to the tower when it starts closing in. Instead of trying to run through the night goop, taking the damage, burning flasks on the way to the actual boss itself like the way that you would normally go, if your circle is the right side of the map, you should approach the tower from the right side. If you go to this spot here, just south of the tower itself, this is a cliff that overlooks this area. If you sprint jump off of the very edge here, you can make this jump onto the balcony of the tower itself and enter it without having to take the normal path over through the fire. Next up, let's talk about a number of places or things that you should absolutely be aware of and purposefully be doing. First, simple one, Northeast Cathedral, point of interest on the map. Most people struggle to find the boss encounter here, or even assume that there just isn't one after they've walked through the place, but the boss here is actually in the pond outside of the main structure, just a little bit out to the west. One of the various packs of little Nox tears outside, when you get close enough, will show themselves to be mimic tears that mimic a pair of bosses for you to kill, and that is the boss of this cathedral location. As for the other cathedral to the south of the map, this is a very, very important place. It does not show up on the top layer of the map, but you can drop down to it from the top layer in the area that's right above, either through a hole in the floor of the sort of structure above it, or a staircase just outside to the west of it too will also bring you down. But once you get down to the lower level in this spot, you will be in the catacombs. At the end of the catacombs path is a boss room. Defeat the boss that's in here, and not only do you get normal boss rewards, but you can also then interact with the crypt at the back of the room, and this becomes a weapon duplication station that is guaranteed to be here every single run. So if you find a good weapon during a Great Hollow run, and you want to power stance them, or even just make a bonus one for one of your teammates, make sure that you stop here. Aside from that, I want to talk in a bit more detail about the two castle-like locations on the northwest and southeast sides of the map, as these are a really big deal for powers and progress. We've talked in previous videos about how you need to clear the crystal curse for this to be a viable place to be. We've talked about the bosses and boss locations inside, but now I want to touch on the rare chests and the secret boss that you can get from the northwest castle specifically. Starting with the southeast castle first then, from the entrance on the west side over here, if you just cross the bridge in front of you, take a left turn to go up the stairs here, then take another left turn over towards the broken wall, and then turn left a third time to climb up the broken wall itself with your jumping patterns. Right in front of you up here beside a larger enemy is one of the rare chests of this castle location. Back down in the courtyard area right beside one of the boss spawn locations right here, this is another rare chest location. This one is a bit more obvious, but directly from here, if you go to the broken wall right behind it, climb up the left side of this broken wall, walk along to the end of the path here, and there will be another rare chest spawn in this location. So you can clear all of those out along with the bosses for a nice infusion of power from here. Then on the northern side of this castle by the major boss over there, this one is always a big tree avatar or a divine beast warrior, but most people never think to run out of the north side of this boss arena. This is a bridge that is collapsed at the end, but you can jump over to the collapsed part to find a dead body that you can loot for some pretty decent rewards. Then the other big one that I want to point out is under this castle. If you approach from the western side on the lower elevation, you will walk up to this sort of broken down bridge area here in a sort of middle layer. If you follow this bridge all the way to the end of it, there is a boss room here that can have Crucible Knights or an Ancestor Spirit, and this can be a Resonance Crystal location, but the secret is if you go to the back right corner of this room, there's a little hole that you can follow down to this dead body down here. I have seen this consistently drop purple items, so it should also be capable of dropping legendaries, as this means it's one of these special interactables connected to the Shifting Earth event itself. And then there's a flight path right next to it to get away afterwards. After that, let's move over to the Northwest Castle, which is generally accepted to be the more valuable of the two locations for a couple of main reasons. Most people people would guess it's just that it has higher difficulty bosses, which results in higher rarity dormant powers and higher amounts of runes, and that is correct, but there is more to it than that too. First up, as most people will enter this area from the north side by the church location, before entering the sewers here, you can climb up on the right side of the path and then follow the path forward, take a right into the naturey area over here, climb up the rocks in the back and move around until you're on the sort of ramparts of the castle itself, and then over here is a rare chest that I already have opened, but you can see what dropped out of it, so you know that it was a rare chest. Past that, your next stop should always be to go into the sewers to the center room down there and interact with the crystal in that location. This will open up the spirit springs and reveal the underside big boss as well. Forgetting the bosses that are around here for a moment, you can use this spirit spring now to get to all of the higher levels of the castle quite easily. So align yourself eastwards and then jump out the spirit spring this direction to this wall. It's about halfway through the castle, and right beside you here is a rare chest spawn that I have already opened myself here in this footage. Then if you go south from here and follow the path around, you'll see another rare chest right beside this Godskin Apostle mini boss here. Go back around and follow out to the outer layer of the castles like so, then go west to the sort of chapel area in the back. From this entrance, you can immediately walk in and then climb up the hanging crystal in front of you, jump up to the beams above it, and then on the right here is a hole in the wall to a secret area. This is where the Undertaker Remembrance will take you to, so if you've already done that remembrance, you probably know about it, but for everyone else, this little tiny hole in the wall has a chest that drops a dormant power that is full of guaranteed talismans for you to pick up. This is exactly like the chest that you have after the sewer boss in the castle of the standard map, so this is a really good loot spot to hit up on pretty much any run. Then there is one more trick to this castle worth mentioning here as well, which is the variant boss. I have on some occasions seen this happen just as a random chance invasion that popped up when I was around the castle, but sometimes it seems to just manually trigger after you have cleared both the main boss below in the sewers and the main boss up in the courtyard center of the castle. This seems like it has a high chance of happening, but can be interrupted by like other invasions existing, especially if you're on a seed that already has an invasion, but seemingly doing this can make this event happen manually. It will put a big red circle like an invasion is happening on the tallest tower of the castle. You can go over here pretty easily just by following the location on the map, spirit spring inside the tower to get up to the higher levels, and then just follow around the outside of the tower to be able to climb up the whole way up to the top, where you will see a variant boss, the Valiant Gargoyle. In this, normally a variant boss would be a Deep of Night mechanic. If you can defeat the boss though, it'll drop a red dormant power, which is a Deep of Night dormant power. And so interacting with this, you can get Deep of Night weapons with crazy bonus passives on them, but this happens in the standard game mode, so a bit of a fun way to work in a bit of Deep of Night into the normal way of playing. On the note of invasions though, then let's talk about the invasions that can be on the Great Hollow map, and also some new ones in general. To be clear what I mean by invasions, these are the big map events that spawn a red circle on your map, and this applies negatives to you in some way until you deal with the circle, then you get a buff for the rest of the run. Gladius is one of the new ones which you've probably seen by this point and probably don't enjoy. 3 separate red circles spawn, each one of the circles has a dog boss inside, kill all 3 to get the buff, which is stamina regen on successive hits and stamina buff for allies. Caligo is another new invasion, and it can be on the Great Hollow. I wasn't recording when I saw it there on that map, but this is it happening on the regular map. He covers the map in an icy fog, he launches little icicles at you occasionally, and you just have to get to the center of the circle and then boop him to wake him up and end it. The power itself you get from this makes you go fully invisible and completely immune to damage when you go to low health, with some sort of cooldown attached to that of course too. You can also get the Frenzy Flame Tower invasion on the Great Hollow map. I've seen it at the bottom right of the map, not sure if it can be anywhere else, but you just go here, clear out all the madness enemies around the tower, and then the event will just end, giving you a dormant power to choose from, and this usually has Frenzy Flame related rewards. Next one is quite rare, which is an invasion from the Balancer's boss. This obviously can't happen in their own expedition, and it can't happen in non-DLC expeditions because it is a DLC sort of bit of content, which means that the only way that this can happen is during a Dreglord expedition. As well, I haven't seen this happen myself, and Great Hollow Shifting Earth is the majority of the DLC runs that I've done so far, so my current assumption is that it can only show up on the standard map version of Dreglord Expedition, but if someone watching this has seen them on the Great Hollow, please correct me in the comments. That said, when this invasion happens, it teleports you to a point of interest and you have to get to the boss room of that location, inside of which there will be one of the Balancers alongside the normal boss enemy for that area. Defeating the Balancer enemy here will end the invasion regardless of the proper boss in the room, and the power that it gives you when you succeed is apparently Rise from Near Death on Occasion, which seems to work similarly to a Wending Grace or the Noclateo Shifting Earth buff, which revives you automatically when you go down, and the exact conditions on it are a bit unclear and I've not had it myself, so this is all hearsay, but it definitely does sound quite strong. Then to finish up today, let's quickly go over the night bosses in each expedition and any specific lesser known bits about them, as unlike the base game expedition targets, there are actually only 2 potential Night 1 and 2 potential Night 2 bosses for each of the new expeditions. For the Balancer's expedition, Night 1 boss can be either Demon from Below and Demon in Pain, or it can be Curseblade and Divine Beast Warrior as a combo boss. Night 2 bosses can either be Demon Prince or Mohg, Lord of Blood. Some special notes here: Demon Prince is always Night 2 boss if the Demon combo is the Night 1 boss, which also means that Mohg is always a Night 2 boss if Curseblade and Divine Beast Warrior are your Night 1 boss. For Demon Princes, the one that you kill first in the Night 1 fight decides the moveset that the Night 2 boss will have. If you kill Demon in Pain first, then the Night 2 Demon Prince boss has the Laser Beam moveset that most people seem to think is easier to deal with, whereas if you kill the Demon from Below first, then the Night 2 Demon Prince boss will have the Fireball based moveset instead. As for Mohg, Lord of Blood, possibly the scariest part of his fight as a Night boss is that he has his full mechanics from his regular Elden Ring fight, including the Nihil at 50% health, which basically just force procs 3 bleeds in a row on every single player and heals him relative to the amount of bleeds that he procs. So even if you can survive the bleeds, it also heals him a lot, which is a problem. There are, however, 2 quite reliable ways to get an item that completely counters this effect, which is the Purifying tier. This is the item that countered him in base Elden Ring, and it counters it in Nightreign as well. One source of this tier is anytime that you have Mohg as your second Night boss, you will seemingly always have a Libra Merchant interactable on your map, and he often, but not always, just usually, will have an option that is, I want to cleanse the Rite of Blood, and this gives you the Purifying tier in exchange for 2,000 runes. Alternatively, on the Great Hollow map, anytime that Mohg is the Night 2 boss, the runes in the southwest side of the map are going to be blood runes. When they are blood runes, there is a static spawn in this exact location here for a big red Albinauric. Killing the big red Albinauric enemy seems to be a 100% drop rate on a dormant power that only exclusively offers this Purifying tier. So if you're doing a Balancer's expedition, you notice this rune is a bleed rune, always come kill this point at some point before the end of Night 2 and you won't regret it. Then for the Dreglord expedition, the Night 1 bosses are either the Great Red Bear boss, or it can also be the Death Knight that turns into more Death Knights after you get rid of the first one. No real secrets here to this one, but note that the Death Knights are incredibly weak to holy damage. The Night 2 bosses for this one are Divine Beast Dancing Lion, and then also Artorias himself, of course, as well. There's no real broken tips for any of these guys like there were for the ones I just talked about, but still good to be aware that those are the options of bosses and that those are all of the options of bosses. And of course, it does bear mentioning that like base game expeditions, there's always a super low chance that when you kill the Night 2 boss, you will have a second bonus Night 2 boss appear afterwards, which, when it happened for us, was the big Dragonkin Soldier boss, so that's worth being aware of too, and that technically is another Night boss, I guess, in a sense. That pretty much does it for today then, everyone. A collection of tips, locations, things to do, and stuff to find in the Forsaken Hollows DLC, with a main focus on the new map attached to the Great Hollow Shifting Earth. I hope you've all enjoyed this, and of course, if you know of more things like this stuff, please share them in the comments down below for your fellow Nightfarers. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.